Almost. Major. Holy fucking shit, this is major! Hello and welcome to another episode of Almost Major, where we usually talk about the many major studios and the films they release, but today we are talking about soundtracks, in particular new metal soundtracks for films we have covered previously. My name is Kevin Tudor, and I am here with my host, the CEO of new metal himself. It's Holiday Kirk. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm pretty great. How are you?
Good. Just, I would like for people to know just basically what you've been up to. You just started the new season of the podcast. You just started a website, so just talk about that.
What am I not up to? Yeah, we got the Twitter account, the TikTok account, the Instagram account, the website, the podcast, the never-ending imposter syndrome and sense of existential despair. I mean, I'm doing it all.
Okay. Yeah.
Where are you located? Where are you based?
In Oklahoma.
What's the best new metal band from Oklahoma?
Well, per your podcast, Chat Pile is from Oklahoma, so.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, that's top tier.
Yeah, I haven't been able to see them live, but yeah, they're from Oklahoma City. So that's pretty much all we got, I think. I don't know. Hinder's from Oklahoma.
Ouch. Well, that's a steep drop. Really steep drop there.
Well, in about 2 weeks, we have a Tool cover band coming, so that's neat.
And there's third place. Man, slim pickings. Slim pickings. What a lineup that would be. Hinder opening for Chat Pile. I'd go to that. I'd fly out for that.
I mean,
I would have to experience that.
That'd be nuts. But today we are talking about 3 different soundtracks from Strangeland, from Blair Witch 2, and of course The Punisher: the album, because Wind Up Records had to make everything the album. Which one would you like to particularly talk about first? Do you want to go in chronological order? Or?
I would like to talk about how before we started recording, you said that these were forgettable.
Kind of, yeah.
These are great. I feel like you picked 3 really solid soundtrack albums. Some of these songs are really good. I would say that this, first of all, the Blair Witch 2 Book of Shadows soundtrack, infinitely better than the movie.
Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, music from the motion picture, featuring music from Godhead, Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie, P.O.D., System of a Down, At the Drive-In, Queens of the Stone Age, Slaves on Dope, Tony Iommi featuring Dave Grohl, and more. In stores now on Posthuman Priority Records.
You got P.O.D. on here, System of a Down, Rob Zombie. You've got Project 86 on here, so you've got some killer deep cuts. You've got Slaves on Dope on here.
Yeah.
You've got Ark Arsenal by At the fucking Drive-In. Banger.
Yeah,
Closes with Feel Good Hit of the Summer by Queens of the Stone Age, and you're going to tell me this is forgettable?
That's probably my favorite one, and I grew up with Blair Witch 2. That is a terrible movie that I adore, and I had the soundtrack back in the day. That's how I first heard Death in Vegas, that Soul Auctioneer cut on here I really love. I thought it was funny that the Blair Witch 2 soundtrack, it says the Dragula's on it, but of course it's the remix because there's no soundtrack with just Dragula.
Did I miss that? It says just Dragula. So wait, is it the Hot Rod Herman remix?
Yes.
And that's better than the original version. So boom. So it's even better than I would have even anticipated. Yeah, I didn't really get to listen to these, but I know all these songs.
Yeah. But, even on the back of the CD, it just says Dragula.
But it's the Hot Rod Herman version, so that's it. That's even another step up, man. What is your deal? What is your deal?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are you just not a new metal fan in general?
No. I love new metal, but it's pick and choose for me. I'm gonna be honest, because prior to the soundtrack, I had never heard Slaves on Dope. Can't say that I've heard them. Project 86, I do like that song, but I've never heard them, and I didn't know that they were a Christian new metal band. But my favorites from this soundtrack, Feel Good Hit of the Summer, which plays a pivotal role in the movie, so I like that song. I actually kind of like the Nickelback song on here, strangely. Kind of like it. Death in Vegas, like I said. I thought that was interesting is that all of these songs are, from previous albums or whatnot. We'll run down them, but unfortunately, the Marilyn Manson one is the only one exclusive to this soundtrack that's not on anything else.
We just did on our podcast an episode on new metal OSTs. Manson is on all of them.
I know.
He is on all of them. That was his real commercial coup, was just landing on all these damn soundtracks. And of course he's on this one with a cover.
Right, and it's the only one exclusive. And then we open it up with Godhead, The Reckoning, which was a band that was signed
to Marilyn Manson.
Yeah. I don't think I'd heard that song, and I actually really like that song, so I need to listen to 2000 Years of Human Error, because I'm a big fan of, like, the new metal industrial kind of bands. Like, I like Static X a lot.
Fuck with that. You'll fuck with that.
Yeah, so I was really liking that. I did find... it was on the DVD, which I did not know, but I looked on YouTube and I was just looking up, is there a video for Godhead the Reckoning or anything like that? And there wasn't, but there was a live performance at the Blair Witch Fest 2000, which I had never heard of. Blair Witch is my favorite movie. I've never heard it.
Hold on, that is something that I have to post when we're off of here. Like that is some history right here. Godhead, the Reckoning.
Yes, I have I ripped it from my DVD because before that performance on the DVD, it starts with like a 30-second commercial for the soundtrack. So I'm gonna put that in the pod. But
so it's called the Blair Witch Hunt 2000.
Oh yeah, and I was I had never heard of that.
It's such a weird. The Blair Witch Project is such a weird thing to have like ballooned into a kind of a media emprise. Like it had video games.
Yeah,
remember that?
3
it had video games. But the original movie is this incredibly harrowing DIY effort,
art film, pretty much. That made $250 million.
That's a good way of putting it. It's like an art film. Have you ever seen this clip? There's this clip. I don't know if it was a bonus feature or like some sort of side documentary of this woman leaving the theater after seeing it, and she went in there with that expectation that it was a real thing, that something actually happened. And there's video of her leaving the theater, and she's like
about to pass out.
Yeah, like from sheer terror. Imagine seeing that movie and thinking it was a real, like a documentary.
A lot of people did.
I would be inconsolable.
I know.
Not so for the Blair Witch 2. Not as much for the Blair Witch 2.
Terrible movie. I love it so much. I'll probably watch it tonight.
I've got to see it. I've never seen the whole thing. I've got to see it.
They're, in the movie, because a lot of the needle drops are in this party scene when they go out to the woods, but they're barely audible. So there's the System of a Down song, that's like barely audible. The Nickelback song, and then Feel Good Hit of the Summer is just like a full montage with that. And then Soul Auctioneer by Death in Vegas, that's like barely in the background. So there's only like one big needle drop, and that's Queens of the Stone Age. Yeah, POD, we got that on there. We got a Tony Iommi track with Dave Grohl. But yeah, my favorite on here is definitely Death in Vegas, because that's definitely stayed with me. What were some particular ones that you really dug from this?
From the Blair Witch 2? Okay. Lie Down is like the top 3 songs off of that POD album, which is the Fundamental Elements of Southtown, which in general is a very not good album. At least that I remember. Stick It Up by Slaves on Dope, that's a good one. That album's decent. Okay. PS by Project 86, that's a pretty good one. Oh, PS, what is that actually off of?
That's off of Drawing Black Lines.
Oh, that's a great album. I actually really like Drawing Black Lines. Drawing Black Lines is one of the better Christian new metal / hardcore records. Fucking Arsenal.
That's so weird that's on here.
Incredible song. That's a great lift. And then getting a little Elastic on there is awesome. Feel Good Hit of the Summer. I mean, this to me is the whole thing coming up to an hour long is too much for sure. But
most soundtracks, yeah. Just
any stretch in here is pretty good. But if I had to pick like a favorite song on here, I would go with Arsenal.
Hell yeah. Can we at least agree that the Tommy Don't Die by Steak Knife is like one of the worst things I've ever heard?
For sure. Absolutely.
It's fucking terrible. I was like, what
is Steak Knife?
I have no idea. I looked it up, and it's exclusive to the soundtrack only because his album never actually came out.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not even a Wikipedia page.
No. Yeah. But yeah, there's Blair Witch 2. Where do you want to go from there? Do you want to go Strangeland or the Punisher?
Let's save the Punisher for the cleanup position. What is it in batting order? Cleanup?
You could just say last. Yeah.
Last position, yeah.
Okay.
Have you've seen Strangeland?
Yes, we covered it for the pod. That is it's a bad movie. Do I own it on DVD? Yes, I do.
Now I do want to talk about The Punisher, because I do remember The Punisher being the last time I watched it, because I did like a new metal cinema exploration. So I watched like Triple X, Rollerball.
Oh man.
Punisher, Queen of the Damned.
Yeah.
A couple more, and what's the Arnold Schwarzenegger one? End of Days.
End of Days. Yes, yes.
That
is a good soundtrack.
Good soundtrack, terrible fucking movie.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah, yeah.
You've seen Rollerball?
Yes, not since like it came out. So I was like 10 or 11, and I'm pretty sure I only rented it because I was like, Slipknot's in this.
Such a bad movie.
Yeah, from the director of Die Hard somehow. Yeah,
really bad. That's one of those movies where it looks like they ran out of money.
Yeah,
halfway through the movie. That one's really. I mean, most of those are pretty bad. I didn't get to watch Strangeland, even though I know Strangeland is a new metal cinema movie. But I did watch The Punisher and also Daredevil.
Oh, Daredevil, yes. That's got the Rob Zombie and Drowning Pool one, yeah.
The director's cut of Daredevil?
Yep.
Pretty damn good.
Like, they were just like, we need 40 more minutes of him in court with Coolio. It's so strange.
No, I like that. That. It fleshes out the character.
Yeah.
It offers a bit of levity. Like, he's supposed to be a lawyer, so to have these scenes of him being lawyerly, I thought that worked.
Yeah, I haven't seen either director's cut or just regular Daredevil since probably
I'm going
like
on the record
04.
right now, the director's cut of Daredevil, good movie.
Okay. I've been meaning to rewatch it. I will not watch Elektra. That's just not going to happen.
Strangeland, on the other hand,
yeah,
not a good movie.
No.
I'm Dee Snider. I wrote, co-produced, and star in Dee Snider's Strangeland, and I have put together the most amazing soundtrack for this movie. It contains the best of the new wave of hardcore and heavy metal that's out there today. Listen to this. I got Seven Dust, Megadeth, Pantera, Anthrax, Snot, Day in the Life, Cold Chamber, Bile, Marilyn Manson. We got Soulfly, Head PE, Kid Rock, The Clay People, System of a Down, Nashville Pussy, Crisis, and even a Twisted Sister reunion. And I'm gonna be back after the movie to show you some videos from the bands who are on my soundtrack. So if you're still alive, check it out.
I'm trying to think of any of these that were actually needle dropped in it. I only really remember the Kid Rock song being needle dropped, honestly.
I'll tell you what, though. Best song on here, I would say, is Serpent Boy by Head PE.
Okay.
Great fucking song. I don't know about the radio edit, but like the song itself is really good. Their best, for sure.
It's very strange that they put a Radiohead.
Eye for an Eye by Soulfly, really good one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Fuck Off is a good song by Kid Rock.
I do love that song. And the strange thing about this soundtrack of that version of Fuck Off. Yeah. The strange thing about Fuck Off on this soundtrack, it's the only way to listen to it actually uncensored because on the album there's backmasking for like 2 different lyrics, I think.
Really?
Yeah. One of I'm pretty sure both of them are very homophobic. So on this
so good.
Yeah. It's one that definitely I remember that song growing up, and that was so weird that the first time listening to the soundtrack, I was like, wait a minute, wow, I've never actually heard this like actually uncensored before, so it was strange.
What do you think of this one? Though?
This is definitely my least favorite. It does have
it's a shaky one.
Yeah. I do like the Cold Chamber song. I'm a big Cold Chamber fan. Yeah, the Kid Rock song. Other than that, I don't
remember the System of a Down song at all.
Yeah, that was Marmalade. That was actually on the Japanese version of Self-Titled, but stateside, this is like exclusive to the soundtrack. I think I read something that was on like a single for like one of the Hypnotized Mesmerized ones. They just like threw it on there as a B-side. But yeah, so now we're up to 2 System of a Down songs on these soundtracks, with both of them, of course, like in the Self-Titled era. Yeah, we got a Twisted Sister reunion, so neat. I don't know.
I don't remember that one, though. Is it new metal?
No, it's a Twisted Sister song, so it's pretty much what you expect. Now, the first one with just Dee Snider called In Conclusion, which is exclusive to the soundtrack, it's very new metal. I actually kind of like that.
I gotta revisit that. That's interesting. Is it a good song? I don't remember it.
Yeah, it's not bad. And then, because most of these are actually, the songs on Strangeland soundtrack are actually exclusive to the soundtrack. The Seven Dust song, Breathe, that's exclusive to this. The Snot song is exclusive. Day in the Life, the Bile song, and the Crisis song are all exclusive to this soundtrack. So
it's a real TVT Records ass soundtrack. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
The Seven Dust were on TVT. I don't know if Snot were on TVT, but TVT was just ripping off all these bands hardcore. No, Snot were not. But I just talked to LeJean Witherspoon of Seven Dust about the TVT.
Yeah, I need to listen to that
relationship, and it was
bad.
No, it wasn't bad because TVT sunk a lot of money into putting Seven Dust in a position to win. But at the same time, like sinking all that money into promotion of Seven Dust means there wasn't much money to actually pay Seven Dust. But the promise with Seven Dust was always, we're going to make you into superstars and then we'll figure it out. And when they didn't become superstars, it was like, we will no longer figure this out. Peace. And it was a member of Twisted Sister that was their manager too.
Really?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting connection here. It was a member of Twisted Sister that was their management. JJ French. I was just saw the name right here. JJ French was their manager, and he was like driving Ferraris and speedboats around while Seven Dust were eating cans of tuna for dinner. And they were like, hey, what's the deal with that? And that was the deal with that, is he was taking them for a ride. But yeah, interesting connection.
Yeah. As far as TVT, the only thing I really know about them is that Nine Inch Nails had a terrible relationship with them early on in the late 80s.
They're like the Victory Records of the 90s.
Yeah, they were like, I'm pretty sure. Labels. Yeah, because I think they started up as just being like a company that put out like TV theme songs on CD, and then they just kind of fell into being a record company somehow. So, yeah. Is there anything on here that you had not previously heard? Because this one is a little new metal, but it's actually kind of just, just basic
tons
metal.
Of shit. Yeah. Megadeth, A Secret Place, Day in the Life, Bile. These are like fake bands. The Clay People.
Yeah.
Crisis.
Yeah. They're on here.
You couldn't convince me that these are real bands.
Nashville Pussy. I know you're a big fan of them.
I do. I have heard of Nashville Pussy, but I can't remember any of their songs offhand. Very bad band name. You want to know an even worse band name, though? Dreadlock Pussy. Real band name.
Okay.
Yes, that's new metal for you, right? That there's two bands that have similar similar names with the word pussy involved. So I'm sorry though that I had to alert you to that fact.
Yeah, well, but yeah, the Nashville Pussy song on here is truly terrible. It's bad. From the album Let Them Eat Pussy. Okay, we've allotted how many times. Is that the name
of the album? Wait. Is that the name of their album?
Yes.
Hold on, I need to. It is the name of the album. All right. I mean, I do appreciate the commitment to the bit. Oh my God. Have you seen the album cover?
No, I have not. I am looking it up right now.
I apologize in advance. It looks basically exactly what you hope it would not look like.
Okay, let's see here. We're going to Google Images, and what in the holiest of hell? Okay.
I mean, that's the way to go, Commit to the bit.
Wow. Why
Commit to the bit.
Commit. They have a pink limited edition vinyl of this because that needed to happen. Cool.
I do feel bad though for all your listeners right now. They're like, well, I gotta see it too. Oh my God.
It's fine.
They also have an album called Pleased to Eat You.
I wonder if that's a double entendre. I could be wrong.
Probably not.
But anything else on Strangeland? Any takeaways from there?
No. I have way more to say about The Punisher though.
That is, The Punisher is definitely veering off from the new metal into the butt rock lane.
You want to step up? You can get knocked down. So the Punisher soundtrack, for those that are not aware, 67 minutes long.
Yeah,
and it is a punishing 67. I'm sorry, no pun intended.
It's a what?
No pun intended. It's a brutal 67 minutes. Because I'll tell you what, I can look through this and be like, Piece by Strata. I like that song. Finding Myself, I Smile, I like that song.
I'd never heard that, and I was like, oh yeah, Smile Empty Soul, Bottom of the Bottle. I was like, I don't think I've ever heard a second song from them, but I listened to that, I was like, kind of like it.
There are plenty of songs on here that I like, but it's like one 67-minute listen, miserable.
Yeah, and it kind of suffers from soundtracks where the second half is just like, put all the bands that nobody really knows at the end. Like, I've never heard of Seven Wiser or Submerged or Atom Ship. Of course, I've heard of Hatebreed and Strata and all that, but it gets a little long in the tooth after Finger 11.
I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say, of course I know Strata. Well, is that really an of course I know band?
I guess, for me, I guess.
Not exactly U2. Of course I know Strata. Strata.
Oh, of course. I have their self-titled album, of course. But The Punisher, this is probably my favorite overall album, because the first half of it is pretty damn good, and going through it for the first time, there's a few stuff I'd never heard before. I'd never heard of the Queens of the Stone Age cover of Never Say Never. I thought that was interesting. Let's get into the drowning pool of it all, because I've always thought this was interesting.
I do not like this song.
No, I don't either. I pretty much like Sinner is a fantastic album, but everything after that, and it's just like, you guys have like a new lead singer like every time you have a new album. Maybe hang it up. I don't know.
I respect them for persevering.
Sure, but yeah, not a fan of the song. But Sinner, if you haven't heard it, it's fucking great. Check it out.
I know you're not talking to me, right?
I'm talking to the audience, not to you. Have you
Sinner,
heard of
like, Sinner,
Drowning Pool? Yeah.
You're familiar. You're not familiar? You don't
Have
know?
you heard of that Bodies song? Yeah, it's on there. Yeah.
You definitely know that, right? I am familiar with that one.
Yeah. And then we have two exclusive songs from Puddle of Mud and Nickelback, which are both very much aping from the upcoming Bud Rock wave, where it's just like, both songs are like, she's so beautiful, too bad I have to kill her type shit.
Very much. She's so beautiful, I want to die. Is basically, I mean, this record really gets you into the like cop mentality.
Oh yeah.
Where you're like, I'm the hero, but I'm also not the hero.
Yeah. It's bad times out here.
When did you watch this movie last?
We covered it at least, I'd say almost about a year and a half ago, so that's when I watched it last. I did not watch the director's cut, which is not as long as the Daredevil director's cut. I think it's like 5 minutes longer, but it's still a 2-hour long movie, and boy howdy. But yeah, it's the only needle drops I can remember that are actually in the movie is, of course, Broken, which they play like, I think like 5 times, and then Step Up is over the end credits.
I think I've developed this weird affinity for Marvel comic book movies that were made before they like nailed down the formula.
Oh, it's very interesting. Yeah, where they were just like, what do we do? Yeah.
Because Daredevil, those first like 3 Spider-Mans, this one, Punisher, they were all shot in like real locations.
Yeah,
and it's
Blade.
Just, yeah. And then like the Matrix Reloaded, and Revolutions, like they're outside.
Yeah.
Like my bar is so low now for being impressed by blockbuster movies. Like, wow, they blocked off streets for this.
Wow. This takes place in Rome, and they went to Rome.
Like, what was the last Marvel movie you saw?
Oh goodness. Well, I guess the latest Spider-Verse movie, but that's not an MCU.
Oh, that doesn't count because that's really good. That doesn't count. Good. The last one I saw was the Doctor Strange one, and
the Sam Raimi one.
They shot all of it on green screens and on sound stages, and I was just fucking.
Gross.
I was like mad at how bad it was. It was all 3-point lighting, bad 3-point lighting in front of green screens, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah,
it was like humiliating how bad it was. So now, like any comic book movie that's shot in a real place, to me, is just like, oh.
Yeah, and it's also so weird. Everything pre Iron Man is all of the Marvel movies were like pretty much like hard R or at the very least PG-13. Like
they were pretty edgy. They were pretty edgy.
All 3 of the Blade movies are rated R. Daredevil, the director's cut, is pretty much rated R. And then Punisher's rated R. And then I think Punisher Warzone came out before Iron Man. But they were very much... I mean, it was a niche before Iron Man came along and just became a huge thing. So they were just like, let's just give the fans what they want from these type of characters. Now they don't touch those characters unless they're Netflix series or whatnot. But
I heard that they canceled all Punisher media because of like the Punisher logo becoming like a racist symbol.
Right.
Is that true?
I thought I heard, because I didn't watch the Punisher show. I grew up like the Punisher movie when I grew up, when I was like 12 when this came out, it was like huge for me. And that was when I got into comics for a little bit. I really loved Punisher. And then I was just like, oh, a lot of other people like Punisher in Oklahoma. Oh, I think it's for different reasons. But I think season 2 of the Punisher, I think they like go out of their way to go against that type of thing. But I think they just got canceled because all of the Marvel stuff on Netflix was getting canceled. But yeah, one thing that I'd always known Broken by Seether, Amy Lee, but re-listening to the soundtrack and getting into it, I was like, oh, I forgot, like, this song actually, like, fucking rules.
I wanted you to know. He puts way too much, like, fake gravitas into that vocal. I love the way you laugh. It's like way over the top, and it is kind of a jam because of that. Like it's something I've learned to appreciate, like that way excessive pop grunge shit. But
I'm very much not a fan of either the Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder type of singing or the trillions of bands that just copied it.
But it works. It works
here
in this context because a actual woman shows up to also sing.
Yeah.
So like having that balance makes it an effective like song, because if you listen to like Seether songs that are just Seether, they're just these dour, mucky, just trudges. And so to have like an actual living, breathing woman show up and sing on it, like adds the level of I don't want to say levity, because it's not like she shows up and is like, I'm happy and everything rules, but to just have like a counterbalance to that excessive dudeness. You have a coal chamber tattoo.
Wait, what?
No,
what'd you see?
I turn your arm, turn it the other way. Okay, that lightning bolt, I thought I saw the edge of that lightning bolt and thought it was a coal chamber tattoo. My bad.
If I had a coal chamber tattoo, you'd be the first to know.
You'd think I would know that like way up front, right? Like just full disclosure. I'm
a card-carrying member, yeah.
Coal chamber tattoo on my arm.
Going off of that, I think it's interesting that only that song with Amy Lee and then the Elastica song are the only times that a female voices are on any of these soundtracks.
Oh my god, it's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. These three, right?
Yeah. As far as I know, of course, like Coal Chamber had a woman bassist and all of that. I'm just talking about vocals.
I'll tell you what, you click over one album though on Wikipedia. So Wikipedia puts Marvel Comics film series soundtrack. You click over one album and you get to music from and inspired by Spider-Man 2. Okay. And that'll really comparing and contrasting that with Punisher, the album, really tells you like the divergent paths that rock music was taking at the time. Because this is Spider-Man 2, Dashboard Confessional, Train, Yellow Card, Maroon 5, Taking Back Sunday, the Ataris. Like this really tells you where rock was going. If you compare that with the Punisher, like there was really two different types of rock radio listeners at this point. And I think that that's why rock radio became diluted to the point where it just didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
It became impossible to embrace these two strands of rock music fans at the same time. Like, how do we cater to the Drowning Pool fan and the Ataris fan at the same time? And they couldn't figure that out. And that's why I always say that 2004 was the end of nu metal's reign. It was 94 to 2004. And it's because that, like, listen, I have some affinity for this Punisher soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of these songs are not good.
No.
Let's be real. Like this Puddle of Mud song, this Drowning Pool song, this Nickelback song.
No. Trapped, Chevelle more so than others.
Hold on, Chevelle, easy now. Chevelle now that's a good Chevelle song.
Yeah, it's not bad. I was sorry for putting it together with Trapped of all fucking people.
Yeah, bite your tongue, young man. Bite your tongue. But what I will say though is that when like I said before, like when you take it all together, this just becomes this gray sludge.
Mm-hmm.
Even the good songs on here, like we talked about, we like Smile Empty Soul song, we like this Chevelle song, we like the I like this Finger 11 song.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Do you know why?
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Damn monster. Hideous human being without a conscience. Post that again. I love that clip.
So good.
But when you take all of this in at the same time, like we said, 67 minutes of this.
Yeah.
You get it. Like, I think it's undeniable that it was like, okay, this type of music has got to be something has got to bump this out of the way.
Yeah, by the time I was listening to it, I was like, I don't think I want to listen to another album that all sounds like this, because it is so at a certain point it gets samey, at a certain point I'm just like, yeah, like you were saying, just the sludginess slog of it all. It's just like, this is like a one and done type of listen for me. There's too much on here. Like
even the Strangeland and Blair Witch soundtracks had more life and energy than this. This becomes way too self-pitying and all the tempos are the same. Like, what do you think of this Edgewater song on here?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember that.
I don't like that. I think that song is, first of all, rest in peace to their lead singer. I think Edgewater have other songs that are really good. I think that song is a terrible choice of lead single for them.
Yeah.
But it is much brighter and more optimistic than the other songs on here. And
you don't think this is optimistic with two Seether songs on one album?
Boy, Pouty in hell. No, I really don't. I think that just having the more yearning emo style Spider-Man 2 songs
Uh-huh.
comes off as more of a breath of fresh air. Even
Yeah. I mean,
like I'm looking at the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack right now, and like, don't tell anyone I told you this, but this photograph is proof by Taking Back Sunday. It's probably better than every song on the Punisher soundtrack.
I'm very
Kicks ass.
I've really only heard Vindicated. I'm not in the tank for a Hoobastank, although I know they're hits. Smile Empty Soul's on here, so that's
I know, right?
gateway.
Like they had to they picked a couple to like make sure, like we need to make sure we're checking a couple boxes on here, but for the most part this is like Audi 5000. They're like clean break.
Real quick detour, because for me, I've always thought nu metal pretty much died when Meteora came out, and that's 03. So why is 04 for you? Because that results may vary also, or is that 03?
Meteor did come out in 03. Okay, I get those confused sometimes. 04. So here's the thing, right? You said you thought nu metal died when Meteor come out, right?
Pretty much.
Two albums come out. Hold on, 2 albums come out in the same year: Meteor and Fallen. And now you might think of those as the end point of nu metal, but remember, combined, those albums sold somewhere around 20 million copies.
Maybe not the end, but that's the peak, right?
No. That's the thing, is nobody knew it at the time. But you're right. Meteor and Fallen were the end point of nu metal. It was the sound as far as it could be taken. But when you have 2 albums combined selling 20 million copies, it's not like Hollywood's gonna be like here lies nu metal. Like, they're gonna keep trying. They're gonna sign more bands that sound like that. They're gonna keep pushing those records, because if you had been around at the time, you would have probably thought to yourself like, oh, there's more gas in the tank.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was there at the time. I was big into Meteora, and
you weren't like an A&R at Warner Records.
I was 11. Yeah.
Right. So if you were an A&R on Warner Records though, and Meteora had just gone 6 times platinum, would you have been like, nu metal is dead?
No. I was saying that at the time I was just like, yeah, give me more. Yeah. But
exactly. So to say that 03 was the end of it, that's a retrospective opinion. You have to go for 04 too to understand like there's just a washout of sort of a backwash, I guess you could say, of bands that were getting signed and flopping like immediately, like way underperforming right away. Like when you think of like Smile Empty Soul, their debut album goes gold, and that was a pretty good success. That's not how the CD record industry was looking at it at the time. A gold record was a little like,
now that's like, holy shit, but back then it's just like, you sold 700,000 copies, like, get the fuck off our label. Because
it is funny. I do tell people that now, like, imagine if a new Vane or Loathe album went gold.
Right. That would be
insane. People would lose their fucking mind.
Yeah.
Like, the new Vane album sold 500,000 copies. People would go out of their fucking mind. But at the time, it was like, yo, you are dropped. You are out of here.
Yeah,
we're gonna write you off on our taxes this year. So
right. And I looked, in the next Smile Empty Soul, it's not on the same level, same label. So they were already dropped after the first one.
Smile Empty Soul I find really curious. I'd love to talk to Sean Danielson about this, because the first album did pretty good, and I remember hearing Bottom of a Bottle on the radio.
Oh yeah.
All the fucking time, and on Q101 and 94.7. And also I've revisited that debut album. Pretty damn good. I would say, of the post-grunge nu metal efforts of the time, that album's got some fucking jams. So I would stick up for it. And if you want to go check it out, you can't. It's not on streaming.
Damn.
I know. I need to look into that, see what I can do. But anyway, their second album, which they had recorded for Lava Records, they had finished it. It was done. It was called Anxiety. And it got scrapped and they got dropped because of what I had read online was like religious backlash to one of the songs. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I was like, how is there backlash about the song that I've never heard of?
You scrapped an entire album over religious backlash to one song? There's no way. So I do want to figure out what the hell happened there.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
But I will stick up for Smile Empty Soul pretty much any day. Otherwise though, when you take in like this 67 minutes as like where nu metal and post grunge was at the time, I think you can kind of get a feel for like,
let's wrap it up, folks. Yeah.
Like, it's all right. This is kind of over.
Yeah. What were some bands like in 04 that they thought were going to be like a continuation, and they just
Good question.
Hold
on. Let me pull open my iTunes library so I can be accurate about this. Because that is a fascinating year for me because it was fucking so over.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like people knew. So Papa Roach put out Getting Away with Murder, right? And that's their pivot to butt rock. And it was really successful.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to say necessarily that it was like bad, but
I heard that single a lot. Yeah.
And My Chemical Romance puts out 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. That goes platinum.
There we go.
And feels like a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think that it was just in the air that this was over. 10 years is a great run. Like I don't bemoan new metal's like end in terms of that run. I bemoan the way that its legacy was destroyed by Crossfade, by the way. Crossfade.
Oh yeah.
Crossfade. Looking back at me. That came out that year. Can't totally stick up for that. Breaking Benjamin put out a big hit album that year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But you can just, you know what though? You can just tell even by these band names, these weren't bands that were going to like spark a new rock revolution. It was bands that were trying to like get their radio rotation on, sell a couple 100,000 albums. It wasn't like Korn putting out Korn self-titled or Slipknot or even Hybrid Theory. It was like this was the end.
Right. And definitely felt at the time because also this, I'm just no research of this, but also 03 50 Cent's first album comes out and that becomes huge. And then it definitely seemed at the time that rock became more and more and more niche. And, you know, when I was growing up and watching TRL and all of that, it would be something wild like a Backstreet Boys and a Korn and a Limp Bizkit and a Britney Spears all competing at one spot and there was no division or anything like that.
The reason that mainstream rock music became niche was because nu metal, which was the last time popular rock music attempted something new, became a genre to disavow and to regret and to apologize for when it was the last like massive explosion of creativity in the mainstream popular rock sector. Because when you look at like those emo bands, which you would also think to yourself, like these were pretty popular bands, they weren't selling even close to the biggest nu metal bands.
No, they were big on MySpace, and that made it seem like they were like huge. Like Under Oath felt like the biggest band of all time at the time. I can guarantee they never sold more than like 10,000 or something like that. Something really
Fuck
small.
You. They went gold. They sold 500.
Oh, they did?
You Find the Great Line went gold. That did 500,000, which you'd think is big, but it's like we were talking about earlier. Hybrid Theory sold 12 million.
Yeah. Chocolate Starfish, $1 million the first week. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the kind of metrics that I'm comparing them against when I say like popular rock metrics. And I think that when you listen to those albums now, they sound almost avant-garde for how weird they are. And they were dominant. They were in every like home in America. Right. So to like rake these bands over the coals, to make them lie down on a bed and to prostrate them and make them apologize for all that they've done, like that condemned rock music to this like nostalgic hell that it's lived in ever since.
Yeah.
So
I would like to bring up something that I've never really gotten to talk to somebody that really would probably know the answer or have an opinion on it. No, it's nothing bad, but basically, you know, the first Woodstock 99 documentary came out. I forget the title, but it was the HBO Max one. At the time, I thought it was like awesome because I was seeing so much footage I'd never seen before. It really put it in context and all that. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, this is like the most like pearl clinching bullshit I've ever watched. And to the point where
you're the HBO documentary.
Yeah,
I think the HBO one was. Did you watch the Netflix one?
Yes, that one was actually good. Yeah.
Okay, go to your conclusion though. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go all the way.
Oh, you're fine. Basically, that ends. It's just like, well, thank God that this died because then we got Coachella, and I was just like, what? But
whoa, I don't know about that. I would kind of rather get my ass whooped than pay $400 for a 2-day fucking general admission pass to Coachella.
Yeah. But it's
there.
It's so one-sided because it's just like, okay, but there were many, even more nu metal fests around that time, like an Ozfest or stuff like that, where nothing like that happened at Woodstock 99 happened, and they're just painting it as... I think there's a person on that documentary that's just like, what do you expect? You get somebody screaming on stage, and I was just like, of course the assaults and things of that nature that happened at Woodstock 99 were absolutely terrible and inexcusable. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mentality of the doc, where the general air in the room of talking about that festival was, well, if you have Limp Bizkit screaming on stage, what do you expect to happen? If Limp Bizkit plays break stuff, people will break stuff, which is incredibly ignorant and not true, because what happened at Woodstock 99 didn't happen at every other new metal concert. It was a big deal because of what happened. It's just like, basically, like, aggression is so funny to people nowadays, and I for one miss it. Like, I obviously don't mean aggression that leads to riot, looting, and sexual assault. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about aggression at life, just aggression in art, to be mad internally and not aggravate others, like get out your anger joyfully and safely. And I think that the doc and the interviewees' attitude about heavy music is why we're in the state that we are in music, and the only big heavy acts are legacy acts. And anyways, my question is basically like, why is it that music that can be, popular and be happy, you can be happy or sad, but you can't be angry? And like, why is that? And why is anger what happened at Woodstock and not just anything else? And it always just frustrates me. It's just like, we can have happy and sad songs, but angry songs or something that, just not anymore.
Let's not bullshit around. Angry music inspires violence. And I don't mean that in like a derogatory sense. I just mean like people aren't moshing at fucking
Enya concerts.
Yeah, it's not happening. People, but I think that violence, when you put that violence in a controlled and in a controlled space, it's very healthy. I think that we had a more healthy society when there were touring metal fests for white people to go to and beat the fuck out of each other. I think that we were a much healthier and more stable society when we had places for that, where you could pay $22 and go to a mosh pit and beat the shit out of each other. Like, that was important. But what I will say that to this point is that I don't remember which of the two documentaries it was. It might have been the Netflix one, honestly, but I remember one of the two documentaries did a better job of letting the actual promoters, the organizers of the Woodstock. Was it Netflix one? Yeah. They did a better job of letting them hang themselves.
Yes.
Because I remember one of the two was just like talking about how like the women had it coming with the sexual assaults, and there was much more in detail about why bottled water was so expensive and how it was on a fucking military tarmac. It was on a tarmac, dude. Pavement.
Rough.
They had this show on a pavement, right? And the violence only boiled over on day 3. That's when it became like a big problem.
Yeah.
So it's always the show. It's always the director's fault when it comes to big events like this. Whoever like put the event together is the one to blame. You can't point to Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit and be like, well, we didn't know they were going to play break stuff.
It's like, yeah, you did. You hired Limp Bizkit.
Yeah. So that's not correct at all. What I think happened around the time, though, is that Limp Bizkit and Fred Durst leaned into it a little bit. And we're like, yeah, it ain't fake when we start the riots.
Yeah.
And they did the rearranged video and they're like on trial.
Yeah.
But I don't fault them for that. It was great.
Not at all. No. Yeah.
It was great publicity, but it's like stuck with it. It's kind of stuck to them that Woodstock 99 was their fault when it so wasn't.
No.
It so wasn't.
Yeah, because like you're saying, yes, like violent music can get violence, yes, but I don't know. It just felt weird to watch a documentary. I think it was like 2020 when that first one came out. It basically felt like almost like post-Columbine scapegoating watching that documentary, and I was like, had we have not gotten past this, like, really,
we needed a documentary on Woodstock 99 that was much clearer about. I thought the Netflix one did a decent job of explaining whose fault it was, but it needed to be like way more declarative it needed more conclusions to be like, here's who fucked it, here's who made this big mistake, and it was the people that organized it, flat out, plain and simple. And the Limp Bizkit thing is just not fair. They played night 2, okay? That's not when the festival got destroyed. The band that played before the festival that got destroyed was Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I never hear them mentioned really when it comes to this. When it comes to this. But I get it. Like, I guess I get it that Limp Bizkit presents themselves as a very easy target.
Well, it's like, we already don't like them, so why not?
And they have songs about breaking stuff. It's like perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah. Well, to wrap it up, do you think either nu metal or music that is this aggressive can ever take the limelight again.
No, not the way that you might think so. Not the way that it had the limelight in like the year 1999 or something.
Oh, yeah,
I think that what we can do is we can use nu metal and the concept of nu metal and nu metal music as a way to give rock bands the ability to make heavy music with accessible choruses and song structure. Again, I think it's got a very freeing effect for the artists that can just label themselves as nu metal, because it kind of gives you the ability to suck. It just gives you that ability to be shitty and be goofy on record again, and have a home for that, find a place. It's just different. It's different when like a metalcore band tries to take that risk and experiment around. It just feels different than when you're like, yeah, we're a nu metal band. Fuck you.
Yeah.
So when you say, can they return to a place of prominence? Like, hell yeah, a place of like creative prominence. Absolutely.
Right.
Commercial prominence, we do need to get it back in that direction, because what made nu metal at its peak so effective was that all these bands could focus on music full time.
Right.
You know anyone in a rock band that can be a rock musician full fucking time?
Unless they are a legacy act now. And
bro, no. And that's why we're cheated out of great rock music, is we just don't have artists that can focus.
Yeah.
You know, they've all got to make their TikToks and their Instagram posts and go to their day jobs and just do so much other shit, and it's not fair. So if we can parlay any of this interest around nu metal into some sort of commercial revitalization around heavy music again, that's really all that matters. It doesn't matter who listens to Deftones and Korn. It's like we just got to find a way for young rock bands to make money again. Period.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Almost Major. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Please follow the pod on Twitter at Almost Major to keep up to date with what movies we will be covering in the future. Myself, I can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at KevBonesy. Bryden can be found on Twitter at Bryden Doyle and on Letterboxd at JDoyle. Charlie can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at CTNash91. Once again, thank you for listening.